Darkness to light, death to life. He is the light of life. Has anyone ever played this game before? Guess who? We have to work out who it is. I think you know the answer is Jesus, so we'll get that out of the way. But the question this morning is, do you really know who Jesus is? Because all the people in the Easter story knew that his name was Jesus, but they didn't know him. All of them knew that his name was Jesus, but they didn't recognize him. And he wept over Jerusalem because he said, "You did not recognize the time of my coming to you." Guess who? The high priest, he said, "Are you the Messiah?" And Jesus said, "Yes." Jesus said to Peter, "Who do they say that I am?" He said, "You're the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus said, "Yes, and I need to go to Jerusalem, and I must be killed, and on the third day rise again." Never, never, that will never happen to you. You see, he knew him. And he even knew he was the Messiah, but he didn't know him. Pilate said, "Behold your king." He knew he was a king. He made arrangements to be put on the cross, the words, "the King of the Jews," but he didn't know him. The centurion under the cross, he said this was an innocent man. Surely this was the Son of God. He knew all the right words. All these people know all the right words. Messiah, King, Son of God. But they don't know him. And they don't recognize him. And I want to say to you this morning, boys and girls, I know that you are so well taught. And some of you know all the stories, and you have all the answers. But do you know him? Do you really, really know him? Do you recognize him? Do you know who it is that was born in the manger? Do you know the one who was, as the old hymn says, was born in yonder stall, at whose feet the shepherds fall? Do you know the one Do you know he the people bless for his words of gentleness? Do you know the one to whom they bring all the sick and sorrowing? Do you know the one who stands and weeps at the grave where Lazarus sleeps? Do you know the one who at midnight, who is he who prays in dark Gethsemane? Do you know the one who upon the tree dies in grief and agony? And do you know the one who from that grave comes to heal and help and save? Do you know him? Do you know him? Do you know him? He is the light of life. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. What does that word overcome mean? That word overcome means wins. The light wins. The life wins over the death. God is light, and in him there's no darkness at all. God is life. Jesus said, I'm the light of the world. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Yet he came into the darkness for us so that we may come into the light. He suffered death for us so that we may have life. But this is the verdict. Light came into the world, but people loved darkness more than the light. What do I mean by darkness? I mean badness. I mean following Satan rather than following God. Evil. We might not consciously think about it like that, but we've got to serve somebody. We either serve the King Jesus or we serve the King Satan. Who's ruling the world? Who's ruling our lives? And on the cross, that was the hour when darkness reigned. But at the empty tomb, that is when light reigns. And who is he? He's the light of life. Can you just get your mind around this for a moment? This is so, so important. This is the most important thing that you will ever think about in your whole life. It really is. Do you know why? Because you're going to meet him one day. We're all going to meet him one day. The most important message about Easter is that he's alive and we're going to meet him face to face. And all of us are going to bow the knee before him. But he was always there in the beginning. All things were made through him. Nothing was made without him. Who's the one that's born in the manger? It's God in the flesh. Who's the one that dies on the cross? It's God in the flesh, taking our place, taking the punishment that we deserve, so that we could be forgiven, so that we could be set free, so that we could have life. Jesus comes to bring us light, and he comes to bring us life. He's also the King of glory. All these people in the story are saying, you are the King, you are the Messiah. Peter's saying, you are the Messiah. But Jesus on the Emmaus Road met these disciples and he said, it is written in the scriptures that the King, God's promised King, the Messiah, must suffer and then enter into his glory. It must happen because that is the way that the King will come and save. By dying in our place as a sin offering. The scripture that was after the video there is from Isaiah 53, written 700 years before Jesus was born. And it says, he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. He had to go through that. And then after he suffered, his eyes open in the tomb. He sees the light of life. Of course he does, because he is the light of life. You cannot kill the author of life. Of course he's going to come back from the dead because he was sinless. Death could not hold him. Do we realize that this is not an accident? This is not a victim. This is God's plan to save us. And he was always going to come back from the dead. Of course, Jesus had free will, and he could have, in his humanness, he could have listened to Satan, but he was obedient to death. And now he is raised to the highest place, and he receives the name which is above all other names. He's the King of glory. Who is he in yonder stall, at whose feet the shepherds fall? 'Tis the Lord, the King of glory. At his feet we humbly bow. Is that true today? At his feet we humbly bow. It's the Lord of glory that dies on the cross. Do we know him? Do we know him as, because one day we're going to see him in all his glory. He's the King of glory who suffered for us and then entered into his glory. And finally, he is the risen, conquering Son. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. He came that we may have life to the full. And in that famous scripture that many of us here today know off by heart, a few verses later it says, "This is the verdict. Light came into the world, but people loved darkness rather than the light." Light came into the world, so they crucified him. But he's the King of glory. He's the Son of God who came to save us. These things are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing in him, you may have life in his name. So I want to ask you today, will you bow before him? Will you bow before him? Will you bow before him? Every knee must bow before him. Let us worship now.